Now, when it comes to CSS styling, we have a couple of different functions we can use in order to make life a little bit easier for us inside our styling. And I think it's very important that we talk about a couple of functions early on in this video and the next one. So we have something we can use in the next upcoming tutorial. So we actually start creating a hero section inside our website. So right now, this is what we have. And essentially a hero section is what the user sees when they enter the website for the first time. So it's typically a banner at the top of the website that says, come buy my product or buy my service or see my portfolio or something like that. Something that entices the user and makes them go in and see what you want them to see inside your website. And in order to create this hero section, we need to know a couple of different functions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go inside my CSS styling and I want to talk about a function called CALC. Now, CALC is a very simple function, but essentially this is a function that goes in and calculates numbers that you might want to change in a certain way inside your styling. So let's say, for example, I have a percentage that I want to subtract a pixel amount from. How do we do that? Because you can't subtract percentage and pixels, right? But we have a function called CALC that we can use in order to do this. So essentially what I can do is I can go down to my header, which is this one we have right here that has a width set to 100%, which means that inside the browser, it goes all the way from the left side of the screen, all the way to the right side of the screen. So right now we have this bar up here that takes up the entire width of the browser. So what I can do is I could say, well, what if I want to take this 100% and I want to minus, let's say, 500 pixels? Can I do that? If we were to try and save this, go inside my browser, you're going to notice that it's not really working because it's actually not seeing any sort of width now because it's just fitting the content inside my bar, which means that it's seeing this as if we have no width set inside this bar here. So what I can do is instead of doing this, is I can write a function called CALC. And the way we use functions is by putting parentheses behind it. So in this sort of way, we are referring to a function called CALC, and then we want to use it using the parentheses. And you want to make sure that the calculation is inside the parentheses. So we want to wrap it in here and save it. And once you do this, it is actually going to register as an actual calculation. So you'll notice that we have 100% minus 500 pixels. So once I refresh it, we have 500 pixels over here. But it's not just percentages we can use for this. We can also use view width or view height or any sort of thing that we want to do this with. So if I were to go in here and say view width instead, which right now essentially is the same thing since our navigation is 100%, which is the entire width of the browser right now because it's not inside a container. But just to show it, if I were to save this, it's not going to break in any way. It's going to do the exact same thing. So this is how we can use the CALC function inside CSS. Now, a custom property is a way for us to store a piece of data, and then we can reuse that data later on inside our CSS. And this is something that is very useful when it comes to doing a lot of things. Let's say, for example, you have a website like the one we've been building up until now, and you want to reuse a certain color inside the website. Then we can reuse that color in multiple places. But let's then say that later on, let's say a month from now, I decide, oh, okay, so that one color that I've been using up until now, it's not really the best color inside my website. I want to change the color into another color. But now I have a problem because inside my many files of CSS, I have used the same color many different places. So now I have to go inside my CSS styling and I have to change the color there, I have to change it there, and I have to change it there, and so on. And what I can do instead is I can create one top level variable that contains the color, and then I can reference to that color inside my styling, which means that at some point, if I want to change my color, I just need to change the color in that one place, and then all the colors inside the website are going to change with just that one change inside my styling. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to actually create a custom property, and then we'll talk about how to use it inside different scopes afterwards. So essentially right now, if I want to, let's say, go inside my header main here, which has a background set to white. So we'll go inside my website. You can see it's white up here. Let's say I want to store the color inside a custom property. What I can do is I can go inside my header main, and then using 2 dashes, I can create a name for this custom property. So I could, for example, say white background. Now, whenever you use 1 dash, it just simply means that you're splitting words apart when you name things. So don't think too much about it. You could also call it white background if you want to do that. But it is very important that you have the 2 dashes in front of it, since this is how we declare a variable. After doing this, I can give it some kind of value. So I can just like with any other CSS property, I can go in and I could, for example, say I want it to be white. So I can give it a color here. And with the variable created, we can go anywhere inside this header main and actually apply this styling using this keyword here called -- white background. So if we were to go inside my background color down here and just delete everything we have in here, I can use something called VAR, parentheses, which is a reference to a variable that we have somewhere. I can copy the name of my variable, including the first 2 dashes, insert it in here, save it, go inside my browser, refresh it, and then you can see that we get the same background color because we didn't change it. So essentially, if I were to go in and instead say, I want this one to be red, inside my variable up here, I can just go back in and then you can see it becomes red. So in a very simple way, you can create a variable by saying -- and then give it any kind of name that you want, and then followed by a value. And then that value is going to get inserted any place where you use VAR, parentheses, and then insert that name inside the parentheses. But we need to talk about something called scope, because right now, if I were to take this and actually use it any other place, let's, for example, say I want to go up inside my background color up here, and I want to insert my VAR in here and change the background color, what is going to happen is that it's not really going to work because now it just doesn't know what the background color is supposed to be. And the reason for that is something called scope. So to explain what scope is, let's actually go inside my index page. Now inside my index page, when I go down to my header here, you'll notice that we have a couple of different tags. We have a body tag, and inside the body tag, we have some other tags. So for example, we have this header tag, and inside the header tag, we also have a div box and another div box, and inside this div box we have an anchor tag. So basically all these elements are nested within each other. So the anchor tag is nested within the div tag is nested within the header tag, and the header tag is nested inside the body tag. So if I were to add my variable to my header -main, it is also going to work for my header -main -logo inside my styling because it's nested inside. So what you can do is you can go inside your CSS and you can create these variables, but it's only going to work for that particular container or any container that is nested within that container. So what we can do, just a neat little trick here, is I can actually go ahead and delete this variable. And what I can do is I can go above my body tag here and I can create a pseudo class called root. Now root is essentially referring to our HTML tag inside our document. So right now, the root of our page in here is going to be the HTML tag that we have wrapped around everything inside our page. So when we do this, we're essentially applying a styling to the root of the document. And this is typically where people have found to be a really good place to place in these variables here if we want to access it from everything inside our style sheet. So if I were to create the variable up here and say I have a white background set to red, and because this is inside the root of my document, I can now use it inside, for example, the body tag or inside my header down here. So if I were to save this, go inside my browser, you'll now notice that it's working and everything is red. So like you can see, in this sort of way, we can actually create a color that we can reuse in all the different styling that we have inside the website. And I can just go up and change the color in one place, and then I'll change everywhere inside my website to that particular color. This is like going to the disco. I'm getting like blinded. And variables like this can be used for many things other than just, not repeating things inside your CSS in case you want everything to be the same color or the same width or something like that. We can also use this when it comes to responsive design. If we want to change things once we scale it down or something like that. There's a lot of uses for custom properties or what you call variables inside CSS. So with this said, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.